You ready?
Sammy?
You good? Okay. Yeah. There's a group of people coming in, and once they get seated, we'll start her up.
I just can't dress me up.
Distracts everybody from what the purpose is to have conversation, interaction. Yeah, I don't like it. That was great. Definitely didn't like what I was doing. I'm just sitting there. You're trying to listen and you're working on the computer. I know, yeah. Yeah. Okay, I would like to call to order this regularly scheduled meeting on August 2nd at 4 p.m.
Calling the roll. Mr. Mahoney.
Here.
Mr. Haddad.
Here.
Mr. Genowine.
Here.
Simcoe. Here.
Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The approval of the minutes from the July 19th regularly scheduled meeting. I was absent, so did you two see anything that you wanted changed, or? Kevin, is that a no?
I don't think there was anything that I saw wrong on that at all.
Okay.
On that one, no.
July 26th special meeting.
There's not much to change on that.
No. So we will approve both the July 19th and 26th meetings as they stand?
As presented.
As presented?
Thank you.
Do we vote on that?
No, I think just the trustees just approving them is fine.
Okay. Is there any additions or deletions to the agenda?
I do have one thing to bring up. I don't know, probably during administration.
Okay.
Small thing. And during zoning, just one small thing there too.
The hearing of the public, has anyone signed in?
Let me check here.
Mr. Genowine, I also, under additions, under open discussion, I'd like to have a brief discussion from our insurance consultant on our health insurance and where we stand. So I'd like to add that to the agenda.
Okay, I wasn't sure, I forgot that was out there too. Okay.
We do have one person.
Okay. Let's see. Rebecca Upperman.
I'm just here about this credit issue.
Okay.
We'll defer that.
That, we will bring that up later, and if you have any comments, we'll let you speak at that time. We are going to kind of switch the order around here. I think there's a lot of people here for the fire department, so we're going to call on Chief Kowalski to take it from here.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like Deputy Chief Mike Freilich and his wife Jen to come forward, please. stand over there if you want, please. Mike Frederick was hired on March 23rd, 1988, came to us from Richland Fire Department, where he served as a volunteer firefighter EMT for about 6 years and a full-time firefighter EMT for 3 years. He started his career at Station Number 3, the old Station Number 3, not the new one, and later found a home at Station Number 2, again the old Station Number 2, where he worked until he completed his training as a fire safety inspector. As an inspector, Mike was again assigned to a different station, this time Station Number 1, or as we refer it, the Big House, where he served as a fire inspector with a elite group of individuals who were taken off shift during the day, went out and did inspections, and then returned to an engine company assignment at night. Mike was promoted to lieutenant in November of 2001 and placed in charge of A shift at Station Number 4. After working in the fire prevention field, Mike found something that he really loved and started to focus his outside training in this field. He took courses at both the Ohio Fire Academy and National Fire Academy. I feel Mike's qualifications in the fire prevention field and his desire to make this community a safe place to work and live will truly be an asset to our department. He is here with his wife, Jen, of 20 years. His 4 children in attendance are his mother, Marcy. There you go. Proud mom. Raise your hand, Martha. There you go. Father, Jerry. Proud father. Congratulations. And his mother-in-law, Barb. Congratulations again. I would like to present this badge to the boss of the family, Jen, so she can put it on Mike's chest. You get just like a prom night.
Just don't stab him.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Yes. Congratulations.
Do we want to give him a couple-minute break?
Yeah, if we could have your indulgence, maybe to have Mike's family take some pictures with the trustees, if that'd be all right?
Yeah, that's fine.
And with the guys on duty, I'd like to also point out the guys on duty today from Engine Company Number 1 and Truck Number 64 are here also. And the Life Squad, excuse me, sorry guys, you guys are usually going on saving lives.
Come on, come on.
Yeah, sure, get in there. This is your day.
All right.
John.
Those are my brothers. Just hanging in there. Seems to be helping, according to my sister said.
Okay.
Take some family pictures.
Well said.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations and best of luck.
Family and friends, please go out to the lobby for pictures.
Chief, is that all you had on for tonight?
Just one other thing, I'm taking vacation next week.
Well, enjoy yourself.
Thank you. No, that's all I had, sir. Thank you very
Okay.
much.
Yes. Okay, so we'll go back to public hearing, street lighting petition.
Yeah, that's right. Yes, we have a petition for street lighting on Maple Creek, Plat 5. The hearing, if anybody would like to discuss pro or con, and then we have a resolution.
Well, we have to open up the hearing.
Yeah,
Open up public hearing for the street lighting for Plat 5 of Maple Creek. Anybody here either for or against? Okay. Close the public hearing.
That was quick.
And I would like to offer Resolution 11-139 to approve the street lighting petition for Maple Creek Plat 5.
Second.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Haddad?
Yes.
Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
Next item on the agenda is we have a presentation by ACT to show us our preliminary website design and looking for input from the trustees if there's anything that they see that they'd like or change. Once again, this is still in the development stage, so I'll bring them up and...
Thank you for the opportunity. My name is Baron Black. We've enjoyed so far working on your site. This is a nice opportunity for us to maybe show you where we're at. We're at a stage now, gentlemen, where input's vital because we have the backbone, if you will, the background of it made and set up properly for the features that you wanted, i.e. being able to edit at will. Okay, the backbone is in there. Scott's done a wonderful job. What we've basically done for the time being, obviously that's your old website, what we've basically done is transferred a lot of information. And fortunately, a lot of the department heads have given us new information as to items, employee differences, and so forth. But I'll let Scott, our lead developer, and my partner, go from here. But again, appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. What we first spoke about doing is trying to make the website easier to maneuver through. And one of the ideas that was brought up was to section the website out into the different departments. And also Sylvania Hot Topics, which is for new informational things that will be coming up within the community. So at the top we'd have the Sylvania Hot Topics. Then we would go down to the fire department section, police, Sylvania Township, and then roads, and then finally the zoning area. As you see, we're getting icons for all the different ones, and we're still working on getting one for the zoning department. So it will all be uniform, and yet again, this is still a work in progress. So you can go to all the different areas from down the center by just clicking on one of the links. And then you'd see the homepage for the fire department. Or you could use the menu on the left-hand side, which you can maneuver to either one of the departments as well. This is the fire department's homepage of their section. Then we have police, which I believe we're in status at. Roads. Township.
Looks better in his orange.
Zoning. And then also an overall contact page, which is something else we're going to talk about.
Great.
Something I'm also looking forward to doing is, as you see, the fire department has more of a red, and the text has changed, and then also the area around the pictures is also red. I'm looking at also changing the buttons and the drop-down menus to a red, and trying to assign some type of a different color for each one of the different departments. Even the menu on the left-hand side, on the home page, you've got the blue and white. Fire department, we've got red and white. Police, I was probably going to go maybe something along this, one of the colors off the badges off of each section.
I believe the township police is known for their brown, so maybe brown would be the,
I was thinking.
yeah.
Safe way to go.
Yes.
Then the roads department, in which then again, it would also, coincide with whatever text is up there. Try to make everything kind of have a theme for their own section so you know where you're at easily.
Great.
Township, we've had some designer work done by a developer. We've got multiple logos, nothing is set in stone, nothing's been decided, but these are some of the images that we came up with for logos, and just like this as well for the Hot Topics area. We'll work with other people in the near future to make decisions on these types of things, deciding, what do we want to have as our logos. We're trying to also incorporate a little bit of what we call flash or animation. this part of it will be a static part of the website. Yet again, the images that are chosen are not finite at this point in time. But these are the ones that were provided to me by the fire department, and they've gotten us a lot of real nice, very vivid images, and I thank them very much for that. Some of them also under the training department, which I was able to even do where they're talking about ladder truck training. I actually have pictures of the ladder trucks and so forth, live structure fire training and so forth. So I'm trying also to make whatever the material be coincide with the images and so forth. The police department has also sent over images for us, and we even have got a new image here of Deputy Chief Ray Carroll, which came across quite recently, which was nice to get that information quickly. Everything in training. The DARE program. A lot of this stuff is material that has been brought over from the other website. This image might be familiar to you. And then the actual township, the safety township, that was taken there at the, I don't know if it's the last one that they had. So, we're also working on, one of the other features was to have a calendar. So as you see off the left-hand side, there's a calendar. You can just click on the link, and this will change, along with the dates and so forth. And as you see, it's highlighted. And then there will be someone in management at the township which will have access to an account. They'll be able to log in, they'll be able to put up the meetings like the one today, or leave pickup during this time. Just pretty much anything that they would want to post onto the website on a calendar type system, they'd be able to log in and put that on the website. Another feature that we spoke about was the edit feature, being able to go in and edit the website as well. So as you see, there's a login button in the top right corner. You'll be able to get the login. So I can get this right.
So tomorrow, we would have our picture of Mr. Freilich getting promoted and a little bio and...
Correct. You'd be able to post up images in that area under the fire department section that you'd want to. Now you see after I've logged in, there's a couple more buttons, and then also within the page, especially on the home page, I sectioned a couple more out than the rest of the website to give everybody an ability to edit their own little section. So if I wanted to edit in the police section, it will go ahead and go over to like a word editor. It's called a WYSIWYG, for what you see is what you get. And then you would be able to either change the image if the editor changed, or you're able to just want to put in more text. And as you can see with the tools, you can use the tools just like Word, making things bold and so forth. Then down here, you have a submit button, and then that comes through. And now the only thing that's available, since I was in the police section, only buttons that are available are in the police section, because that's what I was working on. And then you see the text. We also talked about that you wanted to have a preview, which is what this is. It hasn't been saved yet.
Okay.
So I can either complete and make it live on the site, or I can go back and edit, in which it will bring up the material that was there before and my previous changes. So now I can go back through with the button. See that material is gone that I put there. I hit complete. And then now that's permanent. And then to go back, we can just log out of the system, and then we're back to this main section. And that's about my presentation. Open to a couple of questions if you had any off the top of your heads.
Well, I know that we have SIRE,
Yes.
and that will be incorporated into this site too, so therefore they can pull up all the resolutions, the documents and everything, should be able to do from there too.
Yes, the SIRE system.
Did you contact them, or they'll contact you and work that all in, because they have to?
We're
Forward
working on
on.
some of that, and actually I've already got some of it, I believe, listed right
Yeah.
here, which is linked into the SIRE. If I was to click on these, it would take me over to the Sire website.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Okay, good.
I know this is more internal for us to decide, but would we have one person in-house that you would submit changes to, and then, whether it be Susan or you, John, and then you guys would sign off and then hit that complete button?
Right,
So then,
and this is still in the works, but what we would be looking for is the department head would do the changes for what's coming up for the day leave pickup and that, and then
Yeah.
submit to Susan.
well, I think it's key to have one
Yeah,
point person.
Who's on
Police and
what?
fire can do the updates, but submit it to, because sometimes...
Yeah, we're not looking to do the update, but to actually put it on the website out for
Yeah.
the public, there should be the buck stops here person. you know,
Review,
so-
make sure the spelling's right, make sure
Right,
it's...
and it's something that we want out on the website and that too.
Okay.
So, but I'm looking right now, I was just talking to Baron, is that each department would be responsible for their update.
Yep.
But to get it on the, and through that edit, like you said, but to get it actually on the website, Susan and I we haven't really decided yet, but to answer your question, yes, there'll be one contact that will actually put it on the website.
Okay.
And as Baron said earlier, what you're not seeing, most of their work they've done now is what permits them to do this, the behind-the-scene programming and writing that. And now we're at a point where the visual part comes in, what do we want to see and that, and that's where, for this presentation, we want the trustees to see it, see if they have any comments. And you don't have to make them today, but ACT will be getting back to us and, saying, well, did you like this, and the colors and things like that to do the fine tuning.
We can send you the link again so you can take a look at your leisure.
That'd be great.
Notes and let us know.
Yeah. I like it, though. It looks good. I think it's a big improvement, and our ability to change it on the fly is going to really help communicate with the residents here.
And still stay uniform all the way through.
Yeah, I just,
And stay within budget on this project?
I know better.
yeah, I just don't see us having information on the leaf pickup for 2009
Yeah.
on the website anymore at this day.
Looks great.
Yeah.
Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Next item on the, should we move on? Next item on the agenda is the zoning department. I'll have Tim come up here and talk about the, well, he doesn't have to come up here, you can see where he's at. Sorry.
The first item on the agenda is mitigation resolution for 2441 Chrissy Road. All the mailings have been made. Certified mailings have been also made, no response, and at this time, we're recommending full abatement.
Okay.
I'll make a resolution 11-138, yard abatement for 24401 Chrissy Road.
Second.
Call the roll, Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Haddad?
Let me look real quick. Oh, for the abatement, yes.
Okay, Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
The second item is rezoning for property on Sylvania Holland Road. Bring this up.
This is south of Central.
Yes, this is, actually, no, this one is north of Central. This is at 3611 and 3619 Holland Sylvania Road. And the application is for rezoning from A4 rural residential to C4 professional business office. The site is located just north of the bike trail, which runs right through here. There's a light right at the trail, and here's Green Acre Road that intersects to its northern boundary. This is looking south on Holland, Sylvania. This is looking west across the street to the property. There are two houses on the property on 3 lots. There's both houses. This is looking north, and this was taken probably 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and as you can see from the stoplight, traffic's back to Green Acre right there. This is down Green Acre Drive from the corner of the property looking west. And this is looking south from the property. That's the light in the trail system there. And the trail.
What are they looking to put here?
Right now, the application is for a medical office facility. Let me bring that up. This is Holland-Sylvania over here, Green Acre up here. Proposals for a 2-story office building, 12,000 square feet with parking. The main issue with this rezoning is that wrong one. Is that it is not in compliance with the current land use plan. As you can see here, this is Green Acre right here. So the property sits right in here. The plan calls for the trail to be essentially a demarcation between the commercial to the south and the residential area to the north. You can see from the plan here, looking at the different land uses, that there's light industrial and gymnastics academy to the east. There's car sales, the Elk Lodge, and a commercial establishment here, electric contractor, and a bar. And then to the north is, and to the west, are residential areas. The main issue here is that it's not in compliance with the land use plan, and the great danger is in introducing left turning movements onto Green Acre with the close proximity of the light at the trail and traffic backing up on that light and not having free access into that residential area. We think that a medical use is probably too intense. Possibly a less intense professional office situation that would generate maybe half the traffic would be something for consideration. But since we're going into a revisit of the land use plan next year, we think that this should be taken up during that time, and a resolution made on these properties that front onto Holland-Sylvania. We're recommending denial of the application at this time. Zoning Commission recommended denial. Planning Commission staff recommended denial, but the Planning Commission recommended approval.
Well, let me ask a question. Do we have any pictures of the building they're going to put on the property? Are they going to tear everything down and level it and redo it? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah.
So since we don't have anything, I don't have anything submitted, so I guess we would just either not approve it or postpone it until we get something more substantial.
Well, this is a rezoning. It doesn't necessarily have to be a development.
I know, but I want to know what they're going to put on the property. Just because you rezone it, then they could build a 30-story building there.
Well, they wouldn't, no, they wouldn't.
Going as a PUD.
I'm just saying
They
though.
wouldn't do that, so, but there's
It's a medical
the,
building.
there's the footprint of the building, okay?
Okay. What they want to build?
What they want to build.
6,000 suite, or 6,000 feet per floor, I'm assuming you said it was a
Right.
two-story building?
Right.
It's a pretty large building for a piece of property.
Well, I did drive by it this week, and, I mean, the two structures that are there are in poor shape. I would think anything, anything would be an improvement there. Have we gotten any feedback from the residents in the area, or are they...
There was testimony from 2 or 3 residents during the zoning commission meeting, and they were both opposed to the rezoning. What's being proposed here has a parking ratio of 1 parking space per 200 square feet. If you look at other office uses that would be allowed in that zone district, like a lawyer's office or an architectural office, realtor office, something like that, that ratio would go up to 1 per 400 square feet. Essentially what that means is it would have half the traffic generated from it. Medical office, they're booked all day, and you'd be introducing a lot of left-hand turns into that residential area.
Yeah.
And that's why we don't think the medical is right. There may be other office uses that are right, but that really needs to be hammered out, in our opinion, during the planning process.
So he is submitting this as a medical building?
Well, that's what they've
these
stated is their intent.
Okay. Neil, you seem to know more about the zoning stuff than I certainly do. Do you have comments or concerns?
Yeah, Tim, go back to the one where it shows just how, the land use plan, it is squared out and configured properly as far as what it looks like from just a kind of a trend from the other buildings that are on the street. But I agree with Tim from the standpoint of, if you're coming north through the light and then you're taking a left, and I could see, a little backlog at the crossbar, and something a little less invasive.
I'm more worried about the residential being bombarded.
Well, that's
People are
a good
going to
point,
go out
too.
there and go down the residential to the Green Acres.
Hey, Tim, where's you had the lots just kind of squared off,
Hang on a second here.
please?
Right here. I'm going to go with, let me get out of this stuff here. Right there's the lot.
Yeah, but remember you had it boxed out, like...
Oh, you want the
Yeah,
land use?
sorry,
breakout?
yeah,
Okay.
And what A4, what can you put on A4?
It's a residential.
So that's going to be up for a zone change before long. I mean, I would think once the land use plan gets developed, that's going to be all light commercial.
And remind me, there is no turning lane there on Holland Sylvania at
Well,
that point?
Yeah, there's a turning lane there. But the problem, as we see it, is that from, right there's the light, okay? And here's Green Acre Drive. So during the day, sometimes that backs up. Actually, I got a picture that shows a car all the way stacked up back to here already. And this was mid-afternoon, low volume traffic. So at peak hour, you're probably going to have traffic backed up at or beyond the intersection. And because of the close proximity to the light, there's really no way you can put another light in there. So it becomes a complicated access situation. As you can see, on the east side of the street, there's commercial and industrial. There's C4, C2, and M1, and more C2, okay? And then on the west side, there's C2 below, and it goes all the way down then to
Central.
beyond Central.
Yeah.
What's up north of West Acre? That's C2 up there? So you just have that block that's still residential? We've got a couple of doctor's offices up there.
Oh, that's, yeah, beyond the railroad track. And actually, I don't know if it, no, this doesn't go beyond that, but above the railroad track, it's,
All C2, Joe.
And the other homes are accessed from the side streets there once you pass.
right. And you can see right here, just beyond the railroad track there, which is right in here, I believe. Up above, there's I believe a doctor's office in between, and then across the street, there's another office, probably an insurance office, as I recall.
The Southwest Pump Station, water pump station.
I mean, should we ask for any comments from the...
Yeah, let's open it up for public comments.
Well, open up the public hearing.
Open up for the public hearing. Do we have anyone here in favor?
Good evening. My name is George Orovitz. I'm the consulting engineer for the intended user of the property, and also representing Mr. Peternell, who would be the builder on the property. Mr. DeWitt is absolutely correct. The two doctors who would like to open their office here are husband and wife. One is a cardiologist, and the other practices internal medicine. They had found this particular site that was available and for sale, took an option on it, and we prepared the site plan for the eventual development of the property. Clearly, this is not a residential site. I mean, you have a roadway that, when those homes were built, Holland-Sylvania Road was 2 lanes wide. Probably only had less than 1,000 cars a day on the roadway. Today, you have a condition, based on the county engineer's data, you have approximately 12,000 vehicles a day go up and down Holland-Sylvania Road. You have commercial development to the south, and when you look at your zoning categories and classifications, the least permissive zoning district you have is C4. It primarily, other than some ancillary uses, like it says, permitted uses are accessory uses, daycare facility, landscape business, professional office, research facility, and telecommunication tower are the only permitted uses in that particular district. If in fact you were to rezone this property under your current zoning, really the realistic use for that site would be a professional office building. Does that in fact create a negative impact on the residential neighborhood? Not in my opinion. If it does anything, it stabilizes the neighborhood. It takes away 2 existing residential structures that no one is going to invest a great deal of money to upgrade them, because certainly you couldn't get your value out of the buildings themselves. Not with that traffic volume and the adjoining uses. In addition to that, setting on the south side of this property is a high voltage tower that carries the high voltage cable lines over the cross of this property. By the C4 classification, it requires the building be located between the property line to the west and the back end of the building, a 30-foot setback. That is absolutely ideal, because the entire 30 feet, or west 30 feet of this property is wooded, and that's where the most substantial woods are. Oddly enough, and Tim is absolutely correct, I think there were 2 or 3 people that showed up from the neighborhood. Their concern was not the fact that it would be used for a commercial office building. Their concern primarily was the traffic. They experienced difficulty getting in and out now, and their concern was that if anything was built on there in the way of an office complex, it would create a traffic hazard for them, make it more difficult for them to enter and exit Greenacre to get out of the site. But in essence, when I looked at the traffic design criteria that we use in the design traffic manuals, the odd situation that it identifies is that doctors' offices generate less traffic during peak hours than a general office building, like an attorney, like an accountant, like my business, engineering or architecture, because primarily, and I know I experience this, when I go to the doctor and I visit my doctor for whatever reason I may have to, I'm going to sit in that waiting room at least 15 minutes before he even sees me. Then I'm going to be put in my examining room for 15 minutes more, and then after the nurse takes your temperature and your blood pressure. Finally, the doctor comes in, speaks to you on whatever you're there for. By the time he leaves, you pay your bill and get out of the building, you're there at least 45 or 50 minutes. Your parking lots are required for a greater number for a doctor's building than a professional office building, specifically for that reason. Your stay is longer. When you come in to visit a doctor, you're going to be there longer than you are visiting your accountant, your attorney. If you're like me, I've got 1 foot out the door when I visit the guy, because the time I come in, it's like a taxi cab. The light goes on and he starts charging me. I want to get rid of my business and get out of his office to minimize my cost and my impact. That's the reason why you have a situation like this. You're in the design traffic manual for a 12,000 square foot doctor's building during the peak hour traffic in the evening, not in the morning, because historically doctors' buildings open up or their office hours start at 9 o'clock in the morning. They don't start at 8 or at 8:30 like a professional office building, so they don't impact the morning peak hour. The evening peak hour for a professional office building of professional services, you would have about 92 to 94 trips during that period. That means, by a trip, I mean somebody exiting Greenacre and somebody entering Greenacre. Both are considered a trip. For a doctor's building, it's 44, almost half, or more than half, for that particular type of use. Unless you change your zoning code and you were to rezone this C4, an individual could build a professional building, or they could build a doctor's building if they so chose. What these doctors are interested in doing is probably starting out with about 6,000 square feet. If their business grows, they have the ability, based on providing the required parking and the site dimensions and setbacks, will allow up to a 12,000 square foot building. Their intention was to build the building primarily out of a wood product, so that it would conform somewhat with the residential development. Their glass and the appointments of glass would be fronting on Holland-Sylvania Road as opposed to the rear of the building, because there is an existing house behind them. That's the type of architecture they were looking at and considering. They were considering two-story primarily because they would have their examining rooms and their professional services in the lower level. They would have their own private offices on the upper floor, separated from their practice of medicine on the lower floor. That's what we would intend on doing on the site. We think it is really the best use of that land. The one building, the one further to the south near the high voltage tower, has an existing curb cut on Holland-Sylvania Road. You know, can you imagine if, first of all, the building should be boarded up, it's in that bad a condition. But can you imagine someone trying to make a turn that close to the signal, getting in or getting out, even from a single-family home? That is by far the best use. If in fact it does not conform to the master plan, then in fact the master plan should be amended, not only for these lots, but for the lots that front on Holland-Sylvania Road. If you feel that you want to specifically identify a limited use or a limited size within that district because of the traffic situation, then you have to amend your zoning code to do that. But if you approve any application at this time, they have the ability to be able to build to those specifications of that zoning district, which is the right district for it, because as I indicated, it has the most limited use of any other zoning category that you have in Sylvania Township.
So George, I got a question for you. They're going to eliminate the curb cut on Holland Sylvania and just have it come off of Greenacre?
Absolutely.
Are you guys going to do any improvement to the road on Greenacre so there's going to be accommodating for the traffic?
You know, we're not that far from the intersection. I don't see any difficulty improving that part of it.
Just worried about
It's
more
pretty
traffic.
beat up to our driveway, and the recent sewer construction that was done in that location has tore it up even more.
What about a no left turn out on Greenacre going out of the office building?
I don't know if the county engineer would in fact support that, because currently it is a full intersection. What it would do is it would push all the left turns to the driveway to the north. Whether or not that's a good thing to do, I guess that's something for them to review, to make a decision. I agree with you, it is good. Part of the problem you have in there is with the industrial use on the other side of the street, they have full access and full movements. And that's where the problem occurs during peak hour, because when they're exiting the plant or the operation, the normal traffic on Holland Sylvania, there are no gaps in the traffic for Greenacre to make a left turn.
What about coming back with a PUD so we could get a little closer look at exactly what they were doing? Any thought on that?
I can certainly discuss that matter with the client and see whether or not they would be open to that.
Would you be more comfortable with that, Tim?
That was the next thing I was going to talk about, is
Let me ask you
that
a
a
question,
PUD could more customize the site to the needs and address a lot of the safety issues, at least maximize the safety issues.
If we do approve this though and they decide to expand it, do they have to come back for us for the expansion or do they get automatic permission to expand?
Oh, the PUD could accommodate,
No, I mean what they have right now, if we go to the C4.
as long as they meet the square footage requirement and the impervious cover requirement, they're okay, and the parking.
Well, it's up to you guys.
Is there anyone here opposed to this project moving forward? That's encouraging. Well, I certainly, I know it seems like in the township, we've got traffic issues all over the place, and I know they're going to be tearing up the intersection there before too long at Holland, Sylvania and Central.
Yeah.
I do think anything done there is going to be an improvement to that location. You guys,
Well, I definitely want to see some improve there, I just don't know how we're going to go about doing it without,
do you feel more comfortable if it was under a PUD, Neil, or are you comfortable voting on this?
I mean, I know George probably don't want to hear it, but I think I'd like to see a little bit more, I'd like to see a little more control there. It's on it with the PUD. I mean, that's just my opinion.
Okay.
I know it's a bigger pain for you guys to come back with it, but I think it's, it fits the area. If they're square, the properties are squared off. I mean, it doesn't fit the area, but eventually it's going to fit the area.
Yeah.
And you know what, I think if we could just have a little bit of control, like the buffer in the back, and seeing what you're going to do with the neighbors, I'd like to see some trees and, get comfortable.
Is that okay for you, George?
What I would recommend then that
We want the customer,
continue the matter subject to a resubmission under a PUD.
Okay.
I think that.
And then, obviously, under the PUD, it's a contractual agreement with the township. What we show is what we have to build.
Yes.
That's
Hey,
perfect.
Tim, what did the Sylvania zoning department say? Our group? Did they get to review this at all prior when it came down? from
They
the county?
recommended denial because it wasn't in compliance with the,
Okay, so this
Plan.
Lucas County approved it, Lucas County Planning Commission disapproved it,
The planning commission approved it, the staff recommended denial of it because it
Okay.
didn't comply with the plan,
and then our folks denied it.
recommended denial of it.
Primarily because of traffic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was a PUD discussed at all when you had with the zoning department, when you
No.
guys?
No. But I will request a continuance of this matter so the application can be amended to a PUD.
I think we're very close, you know, I think just a few more details would make us all a little bit more comfortable, and again, we don't want to lose anybody, but if you wouldn't mind, I think that'd be great.
Certainly.
And lastly, just with the neighbors that live back in there, a lot of great yards, and a nice little neighborhood, I just be conscientious of what we're trying to do back there.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, George.
Yeah, we will close the public hearing for 3619 Holland-Sylvania Road for the continuance of him submitting a PUD application. Next, Tim.
Next application is rezoning of the property located at 2716 Holland-Sylvania Road from suburban residential RA to C4 professional business office. This property is located just south of Central Avenue and Walmart. It's just north of Denison, which is this road down here. There's an office building here, and there's a 45-foot wide lot here that is zoned residential. As you can see, well, maybe you can't see.
You can't see anything except for some fuzz.
There are a bunch of evergreen trees here. There's the office building. A little closer look. The interesting thing, when this office building was built, the county engineer's office made them move the access further south, okay, because of some of the access cuts to the north. And by doing so, the access is on residential land. Normally, you don't want to have commercial access, taking access onto commercial land. So really, this action is to legitimize that access cut and incorporate it into the C4 zoning that was originally approved on this lot. This is from the parking lot looking out. You can, the access point goes out right here. This is looking at the house behind the evergreens. Okay. And then essentially what's going to happen here, you can see where the end of the parking is now. This lot cannot accommodate another building, okay, so it would have to be merged with that lot. And the plan is to create a reconfiguration of the parking in the parking lot and to create a
attached structure.
A buffer along that property line.
Do you see any problems with this?
No, I think it's probably the best situation that could come up, because you can finalize the buffer there on the south. That becomes the line of demarcation for all commercial. And I think sooner or later that house is going to go, okay? But it's important that it be incorporated with this lot, okay, with the same zone because of its commercial status. And if we can come up with a plan that ties down the landscaping now, I think that's the best of all worlds.
Okay. Let's open up public hearing for 2716 Holland Sylvania Road. Is there anyone here for or opposed to this zoning change? Then we will close the public hearing. And I would like to offer Resolution 11-137 to change, zone change request from RA to C4 for 2716 Holland Sylvania Road by Larry Miller, property owner.
Second.
And since it's the third bathroom break of the evening for Mr. Haddad, let's go ahead and take the vote.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Haddad's not here. Mr. Genowine?
Yes. Hopefully he can get his interview done and we can get back to business, but,
That's all I have.
thank you.
Next item on the agenda is our Public Works Department. Greg Hoffman will submit a short,
Wearing his bright orange.
yes, will submit a short monthly report, and then he has a couple of resolutions.
Lisa, he might recruit you?
Good evening. I will keep my comments very short. The monthly report for July 2011 has been submitted for your review. In essence, we're at 300 feet of concrete curb. The Phase 1 resurfacing is about 95% complete. Phase 2, about 20%. They just started. Concrete repair program, about 25%. And we completed the summer brush pickup. The summer brush pickup consumed about 17 days of the month. So, pending your questions, I'm ready to move on to the next item.
How many crews did we have on the brush pickup?
So we had the entire department, and we also hired a contractor for 1 week.
And it still took 17 days?
Yes, sir.
Wow.
Plus, there's people still throwing their debris out after the last storm that just went by,
Well,
thinking we're gonna pick it up again.
yeah.
So that's what I was gonna make a recommendation. I spoke with Greg before about this, and I think we're gonna have to look into drop-off points for a lot of people to take their brush, so it's just not laying there, and it's easy for us to send a crew over, mulch it up, and get rid of it that way, than, spending all these days going around picking all this stuff up all the time. Because every time we're gonna have a storm or something, we just can't keep sending out the road crew when it's concrete season to pick up debris, and I mean, I'm not against picking up debris, let's just drop it off at a point where you can and, borrow somebody's truck, and then that way it's just easy for us to get in one site. Make sense to you, Greg?
We should look at a more proactive method, something for 2012, perhaps.
Yeah, 'cause that's a lot.
I know you and I have spoke to, Greg. But we do need to communicate to the message to the citizens that it is a safety concern when they are putting these big piles of limbs out to the curb and they sit for months on end.
Right.
And inevitably, the minute we get finished picking up the sticks and branches, we get another storm. So the timing has not worked in our favor this year. And so we do need to visit other options, but I think for this year, we're kind of held to the schedule that we published from the beginning of the year, and let's continue to work on alternate plans for next year.
Yes. Moving on to next item, recommending resolution 11-130, advertise bids for leaf pickup. This is an annual task that we perform to make the leaf pickup efficient and productive. We require the assistance of contractors.
I would like to offer resolution 11-130 to advertise bids for the leaf pickup season.
Second.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Haddad?
Yes.
Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
Thank you. Next item, resolution 11-131, award bid and enter into contract for the Seal Coat project. This project consists of 2.4 miles of roadway at a bid of $42,111.43. The bid winner is Roadway Services, which is a division of Gherkin Materials.
They're gonna use the emulsifying coat that we talked about?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Offer resolution 11-131 to to award bid and enter into contract to emulsify seal coat project.
Second?
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Haddad?
Yes.
Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
Thank you. Next item, Resolution 11-132, to submit the 2012-2013 OPWC Ohio Public Works Commission application. This requires a resolution from the board. Mr. Beck, if you could scroll down, I've included some additional information, options 1, 2, and 3. I strongly recommend option 1. And this is a joint effort with Lucas County Engineers Office and the Sylvania Schools. Collectively, we're looking at several projects to roll up into one application. The township's portion is about $680,000. Of that, we'll receive over $300,000 in state grants, leaving a local share of just over $300,000 for about 3.4 miles of roadway. In summary, this preliminary application has scored 97 points. Gentlemen, I've been here 22 years and I've never had an application score that high. So I'm very excited about the opportunity to score high and collect more state grants.
That's because you're applying with the schools, right?
Yes, and the Lucas County Engineers Office. So this is real good news facing economic tough times.
All right, I'll offer Resolution 11-132, submit application for the 2012-2013 Public Works Commission application.
Do we specify that it's option 1, or that just gives you the permission to go ahead and submit it, and we'll direct you to do option 1, or?
Option 1 is my recommendation.
Okay.
And
so we'll go, I'll second that.
Call the roll, Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Haddad?
Yes.
Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
Thank you. The last item I have is just to bring to your attention, the Ohio Department of Transportation has awarded the contract for sodium chloride rock salt to Cargill Incorporated De-icing Technology Business Unit at a great price of $55.61 per ton. I had budget for $65 per ton, so 15% less. It's a nice safety factor to have. So.
It always helps when you estimate high.
Okay. That's all I have for the board, pending your questions.
I think we're good.
Thank you.
Thanks, Greg.
The next item, we did the presentation already. Chief, do you have anything else? Okay. Next department is the police department. We have our new Deputy Chief Ray Carroll here. Anything?
Can he come up and tell us how it's going? Very briefly?
Poor Ray, you're calling him on the spot.
I know. He's a police officer. He's got to be good on his feet.
I can tap dance with the best of us. Well, after 12 days, I can report to you, I know where the bathroom is, I know where the locker room is, and it's...
There you go.
And,
You're doing good, though.
and it's a very fine police department. I'm very honored to be part of it. There's some fantastic officers there. There's some forward thinking. I've been to every roll call. I've talked to every shift and discussed a lot of things with the chief, and I think we have some plans, and hopefully he'll be back from vacation, and we'll work towards some of those things. And again, building on a very strong foundation. It's a very good police department of fantastic officers over there.
Well, thanks for standing up and filling in a pinch, and good job.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item is administrator, and my first item is a review of an application for a new liquor permit at 6730 West Central Avenue. It's the new Dollar General store. I have letters from the police department and the fire department that they have no objections to this liquor permit. Once again, you do not have to take any action on this. The only action you need to take is if you deny it.
Dollar General store is going to sell booze?
I guess beer. For $1. Yeah.
Buck a can. I know what brands they'll have.
Is it a 3-ounce can or what?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
My next item is a discussion on the sale of Fire Station Number 2. As you're aware of, we have completely moved out. of the old fire station number 2. We have had the tanks removed from that and got a clean bill of health. So now I make a recommendation to the trustees that it's time to sell that station. And what I'd like to discuss is the options out there of the way we can sell it. We can sell it by bid, we can sell it through a real estate company, we can put a sign up, advertise it, we can hire somebody to market it for us. These are all options on the table, and according to Mr. Burrell, we can just about sell it, as long as the trustees agree, we can just about sell it any way we want.
I think we should just go for a bid on it like we did the number 3 and put a minimum bid of, I don't know.
Well, and I agree with you, but the problem is, what we did with number 3, as you recall, unbeknownst to some people, is that we actually hired a real estate company who took care.
No, we didn't. What happened was, Hugh Thomas recommended to them to hire the real estate agent, which all the...
Right, that's what I'm saying, I went through it.
We're not going to be doing anything that way. We're going to just offer it for ourselves. If they bring a realtor, they have to pay their fee and everything we're done.
And that will be very clear.
I think that's the way we go. It's up to you guys, but I'm saying, that way we're not in it, and if they want to pay a realtor, that's out of their own pocket, not out of ours. We make that specific in the bid for the sell. So if they want to do it through a real estate agent, let them pay the fee, not just like we did last time.
Do you want to hire a firm to market it and receive the bids because I'm sure there'll be questions on the parcel and taking people through the building and, what its use is for and that, so, and I'm not looking for a decision right now, but I just, it might be to hire I'll use the word like a real estate person, not on a commission, but a flat dollar amount to market this parcel, to take the calls, to take the people through, to, try to sell it.
I don't think anybody will have to go through the building. I think that thing's gone.
Yeah.
But I do think that,
Residents.
Neil, again, you got more experience on the real estate side of things. Would it be beneficial to have somebody at least make sure it's in the right magazines, the developmental newspaper?
I think we need to protect the brokers, and I think we'll get a higher dollar value in selling the property.
Okay.
And Central Avenue is a national street, and if you're going to sell this property just on the Central Avenue name, their companies aren't going to be able to locate and identify that value, and I think that value is worth paying a broker a fee to market it.
What kind of fee would be like normal?
Our normal fees are 7% on buildings.
But if we're just asking him to market it, would they do it for like 1 or 2 or?
Probably not.
No.
I mean, so 300,000, you're at 7%, you're at 21. And I think it's probably we'll probably get, this is me talking, but I think we can get more putting it out on the market nationally and let these guys use their website, just like we're doing our website. We're doing our website so people can see our site and see what we're doing. You got to get it out. You got to get out of the web, and you got to get it out for people. That's just my opinion.
Can we beat them down to 5%?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's open. I mean, it's not like it. And I'm not the.
No, I know.
I think in this market it'd be well worth trying. I mean,
Yeah.
if it's.
John, could you call a couple and see if we can't
I'm
get
just
something
at this point, I'm just looking for
5%,
instruction. I will
and
get back to you.
Again, it is on Central Avenue, so we have the advantage of putting a sign up there, and however, they said 12,000 go down Holland, Sylvania a day. I got to believe, 25,000 go down Central
Right.
Avenue a day, so it does have high visibility there, but.
And one of the things that having a broker or whoever do it is that you can put a number on it, phone number that they can call. I mean, other than putting our township number, which,
We're just going to give them your cell phone.
that's what I was afraid of. But, and this way they'll get a contact person, a professional who could answer questions and.
And maybe the real estate companies bid for that stuff. Maybe there's somebody would come in at 4 3/4, or maybe somebody comes at 6%.
Yeah, they're all
So, we let them.
Yeah.
Let them kind of.
I will contact them, and before I sign anything, I will get back to the trustees and say, this is what we have, do you approve it? But I just wanted to bring that up at this time.
Sounds good.
The next item is I wanted to discuss the future direction of the township IT. Months and months ago, we started a process of trying to combine and get a IT person, a firm in here, and that's been going very slow. We've been zigzagging in that, and so I just wanted to bring it up to the trustees. If they have any thoughts, what we're looking at is possibly, And going back, we originally talked about a part-time person who would handle the day-to-day operation and the meeting, but as you can see that we now have Sam in here, and she's, wants to be called Sammy, doing this, and she's doing a fine job at that. So that kind of changed the dynamic of a little bit of what we were looking for. And like I said, the road's been zigging and zagging on what we need in that. So I just want to bring it up to trustees if they have any ideas in that, but we'd like to move forward quickly and get a good IT system in for the township. It's grown piecemeal, and it's to a point where we really need a firm, a person, or somebody to take over. So I just wanted to bring it up if the trustees have any comments.
I know the last time we really had any discussion on it was we were talking about bringing in somebody 12 to 20 hours a week, probably at a salary between, 13 and 20 bucks an hour, depending on their experience and qualifications. Do we think that is the way to go, or do we think, kind of just hiring a company to provide those services? And we don't, the one nice thing about part-time is you're not dealing with the benefits and things that you would have with a full-time. And my thought process is, once we open this door a little bit, I think we're going to find out a bunch of stuff that we need done. And instead of contracting on an hourly basis, having somebody here that we've already got a cubicle for, I believe the office space was kind of set up for somebody to transition in there. The one obstacle or difficulty there is, hiring the right person to fit our needs, again, because they're from A to Z in the IT world, and it's difficult to find one person, particularly a part-time person, to come in and do those. So I just wanted to put it on the agenda and get your thoughts and see what direction we still want to go in.
This is for me personally, I'm not very good at identifying that. I don't know that. So are there anybody in our, anybody that's got a good hand? I know, Kevin, you guys, I think, have a lot better handle than I do.
I think we're all capable of seeing our deficiencies, and we're all probably know enough to be dangerous. But in order to solving some of the, what if questions, what if the police department goes down, where does it switch off, how do we handle it, where do we redirect it? Those are the things that we need to have identified, in my opinion, so that, number one, it makes the township a safer place, and number two, everyone's not scrambling. It's very easy to look at Lake Township and what they went through, and so those types of situations aren't that uncommon, and I think that we definitely have a long way to go to get to that preparedness to say, no matter what happens, if a catastrophe rolls through here, we're prepared, knowing that, the first line of contact's John's cell phone number, and, you have those, and let alone just the servers, and, we've got a lot as a township invested in IT, even in just the software programs, and we don't even have those cataloged and things. There are certain people still dealing with additions from Excel that some of us can't operate on because we have newer or older versions. And so, again, I know it's a big monster, and I think that's why it's been slow to get moving, but I think that, I'm kind of in favor of hiring somebody part-time, and as we develop it, if they work into something, you never know, but I certainly don't think there are too many operations with a $23 million budget and 170 employees that don't have one IT person, and the number of laptops and servers we have and the critical functions that we provide, I think we really got to get moving on this particular item.
What do you think, Kev?
Well, I don't know. I'm pretty much an IT person, but I can't do it all. So I do enough.
Well, I worked 5 years for IBM, Kevin, and there's one thing with IT is it changes all the time, and you might be up to speed now, and, in 6 months, you have no idea what that guy's talking about.
We need somebody,
and
because you don't know who's gonna be around or not around either.
That's true, too.
So let's go down the path of, let's go down the path of bringing somebody in on a part-time basis, negotiate a contract with them, and let's
And
get
then
it going.
have another consulting kind of company giving them direction or something, so we can minimize the hourly rate from the consulting company, and yet we could probably still have the IT person updating our website from ACT, and, I think we're going to keep this person busy, to be honest.
I foresee that too. Well, I hear the direction, and believe me, I want to move as rapidly on this as the trustees do, so I will get right on it and keep you informed of our progress.
Okay.
Thanks, John.
Next item is Dave Simco, our fiscal officer.
Well, I was gonna bring something up there in this thing, which fits right in for the fiscal anyways. So it's between you and the fiscal. I went to the county commissioners meeting this morning. Want to let the public know that they authorized a .70 renewal operating levy for the 911 service, which I spoke to the chief. We're not going to get any more portion of that towards our EMS squads, are we?
Right now, there's no, this year, to get any increase in our annual payments, but the plan is to petition them for an increase for next year.
Okay, because they're putting the renewal on for this November.
Right.
Also, they're doing a renewal levy of 1.4 mils for the CSB, but I heard they have a huge excess in their budget, but I don't know why they need it. But they were going to ask for more operating money of 1.4 mils. And then there's a renewal levy of 0.85 mils for the zoo that's coming up too, and they're all renewals based on the old valuation, so they weren't getting reduced funding, just so you know. Keep the public aware. Okay? That's it. Go ahead, Dave.
Okay, Mr. Beckman, present our 3 resolutions.
Good evening. I have 3 resolutions for your consideration. First resolution, 11-133, is to appropriate some money from unencumbered funds, and it's in the increase the appropriation in the transfer out cemetery fund of $7,150, and then we need to increase the appropriation in the cemetery fund of $7,150. It's my understanding that Mr. Huffman has some projects going there that we need to improve the site, and we haven't transferred any money into that.
All right, I'll offer resolution number 11-133, township appropriation of unencumbered balance for the cemetery fund.
Is this the
Sign.
the sign in the gate, and
some grassy.
Yeah.
and you've got it worked out with the neighbor who has the safety concerns, that she's comfortable with it now?
Yes, we have an email from her to that,
Great.
saying that we worked something mutually out with them.
Okay. I'll second that then.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Haddad?
Yes.
Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
The second resolution I have is 11-134, and this is a transfer of some appropriations. We've got some accounts that are, line items that are running low, and we need to transfer money from other line items within their particular funds to cover the shortfall in those other line items. So they're in the fiscal department, the road and bridge, and the police fund.
I'll offer resolution 11-134, transfer of appropriated funds.
Second.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Haddad?
I'm reading them real quick, sorry. Get John.
Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
Okay, yes.
The final resolution I have is tied into the first one that we approved, and that's to actually transfer the money from the general fund to the cemetery fund, and that's resolution 11-135, so we can pay the money out of that cemetery fund.
I'll offer resolution 11-135, transfer of funds.
Second.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Haddad?
Yes.
Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
Thank you, I have nothing else.
Thanks.
At this time, we have the open discussion, and I know people from TARDA have been waiting, but I'd like to have our insurance. He's just going to take a couple minutes to
Yeah.
have him do his presentation I talked about earlier.
Hey, Jake.
Good evening, trustees. My name's Jake Cox with the Highland Group. Everybody hear me all right? I can't really hear the mic, but it's hard to believe that it's been, almost a year since Highland was brought in to get involved with the township's health insurance and other group benefits. I will tell you, it's been a pleasure. I know this is nobody's favorite topic. I think that's usually pretty safe to say. Health insurance is one of those things that's one of the necessary evils that we all have to deal with. So we don't design the whole system, we're just trying to navigate through, and a lot of our process has really been around education and options with the insurance committee. And I do really want to, commend the people that have been involved in the insurance committee. I'm guessing most of them drew the short straw at their representative departments, but the leadership from the administrative team and the number of changes and things we've thrown at Susan and at John Zeitler, all those changes and those kind of things, nobody's ever anxious to make changes. We know it was a negotiations year with the unions. Hopefully everybody is confident and comfortable in the information that Highland was able to give, really to support, all angles of this thing. To highlight a little bit, the sheet I handed out to you guys, just going through a lot of the different information, and all this is available and archived. Everything from benchmarking the plan versus national statistics, and trying to keep it as simple as possible, which is a challenge in our field. But that benchmarking, I think, let everybody know how the township's plan compared from deductibles and co-pays and out-of-pocket maximums, and kind of the balancing point being, what it's costing each and every employee, what you're paying in for these great benefits. So this is something that's a very standard approach, and we will continue to work through that. We are recommending, and I believe the insurance committee is on board with rolling out an additional option for 2012 with a high deductible health plan. We're saying this is an option, as an alternative for those employees that want to take advantage of some of the tax advantages of a high deductible plan for those that want to do some more long-term planning. But we were involved in the negotiations with the renewal, working with the OMRISA, which is probably the largest council of governments plan in the state of Ohio today. It's over 10,000 covered employees, originally started with a number of schools that under the Ohio Revised Code 9.833 were allowed to join together and form a consortium, or a MIWA, as the terms might be more from a legal perspective. So the assessment on that, working through the renewal, the plan modeling. We've done some changes that I think were received as very positive as well. A couple of the opportunities that we identified, one of those was the ability to move the vision plan to VSP, who has the largest national network. Actually, I think in most cases we'll probably see some enhancements in the benefits for the employees for a little less money than the self-insured program was before. Also made some changes to the dental program to really move that to a self-insured environment. One of the tougher pieces was probably the change as far as the spousal language, which has become very common. There are a number of school districts and other municipalities that are moving that direction, and that's something that it's never fun to go through that if you're the one that's got to make the change. But all those types of items are the things that we really want to continue to bring those options for the committee to review and for the trustees. We know this is a very, large budget item for the township, and it's very personal. It affects everybody that's covered under the plan and their dependents they're covering. So, we try and tread lightly on this and really just lean towards the education. One of the other areas, in looking at just the prescription drug, I think we found kind of a win-win scenario with developing coverage through the plan for over-the-counter drugs. The marketing of prescription drugs direct to us in dollars nationally is only outpaced by the big beer companies. So we're getting a lot of direct marketing on prescription drugs. Geez, if I could take that pill, I could walk on the beach with this babe too, I mean, that's what a lot of these advertising is. What's that?
Tell them to send us samples.
Yeah, I mean.
Spend the money.
But we actually identified a number of what we call over-the-counter drugs that are in the same therapeutic class as some of the brand names that are still under patent. And some of those are from the same manufacturer, and they can be 1/5 or 1/6 the cost. So a lot of education around those kind of options and creating an opportunity for employees to understand and take advantage of that. We've actually made it so they can save a little money and definitely save some money in the self-insurance side of paying for those drugs to the township board. I also want to bring up Lisa Ambrosetti. We had some other claims issues, and you can see some records of the committee meetings. But Lisa has really led the wellness push, and we had a very successful biometric screening session, and let her chat just a little bit about that in the future. So if are there any questions from the trustees at all about, okay? I know health insurance is exciting, so we're there if you need us, and don't hesitate to call if there's any further questions.
Thank you.
Lisa?
I'm going to be very brief. I'm glad that you let me talk. Usually he goes, and by the time I come up here, I have nothing else to say because he's spoken for me. But I just want to give a quick summary of the biometric screenings this year. It was the first year that the township decided to offer this to the employees. There were 3 different dates. We did 2 of them at Fire Station 4 and 1 at the Township Hall here. We did have 64 total participants. So I thought for the first year out, actually, it was very, very good. We partnered with ProMedica Total Wellness to do that. I do have a summary of the results of the aggregate report that I'll submit when I get done here. We won't go over the results, but at any time you can look at those results, see kind of where that population was, some of the high-risk areas. I am working with Susan. Some of the next steps in terms of wellness is to get a wellness committee formed, separate than the health insurance committee, because it's too much. That usually is not successful when you're trying to bring the health insurance in. Even though claims data is tied to health, you need a specific smaller group that can just focus on those wellness initiatives. So we are looking forward to doing that. We're working with the Omarissa plan. There's a lot of great free programs, incentive-based programs that we're looking to roll out to the employees to offer as a value add. And hopefully next year we'll continue with the health and wellness, and that for the screenings next year. And it ended up being, from a cost standpoint, just about a little less than $35 per employee to get those screenings done, which is really, really cost-effective in terms of knowing your blood pressure and cholesterol and things like that. So that is the direction that we're going to go to, so I am not going to take up much time. But I do think, though, as you're planning your, revising your website, one thing to consider would maybe to be a wellness or health and wellness tab or something like that, if you can incorporate that into it, and we can do some reporting based on that. So just thought I'd throw that in there.
That's a great.
Little plug.
Maybe you don't have it hooked up, Eddie.
I will submit if you guys just
Thank you. As a follow-up, I have had 2 follow-up visits to my doctor after getting my health screening results. So I do think it's very beneficial. I mean, just to give people the heads up as to where they're at, and I certainly think that's the goal. So thank you, and that's a great idea to add that to our website.
Yeah, I'll make a note of that.
Yep. Thanks, Lisa.
Thank you.
If there's no further questions with the health, the next item on the agenda is the discussion on TARDA, and I will turn it over to the trustees. And
Ready? Does anybody want to speak on behalf of TARDA or against TARDA?
Well, should we bring them up to speed with where we're at first, Kevin?
Well, I think they should just get off their chest first, and then we can do all that, then I'll explain it all to them. There's not too many people that want to speak on it. Huh? Well then, I guess before we, I know. I'm just going to let her speak, and then I'm going to explain to you everything that's going on right now.
Good evening. My name is Cindy Shunk. I am a resident of the city of Sylvania, and I want to voice my concern why I'm against Sylvania Township being out of TARPs and TARDA. I am blind. I've used TARPs for 10 years. I depend on them for everything, from leisure to appointments. And as an example, I would not want them to opt out because I'm thinking about joining my local health club for wintertime, St. James Club. I joined for the summer. And if they opted out, I wouldn't be able to go do my exercise and go independently like everyone who has their own vehicle can do. And I want to ask this question. I understand that you are thinking of using another transportation service, and that's nice, but how can the people of the city of Sylvania use it? It's not effective for me. And also, if you put that into play, what would happen if, what are the boundaries, where do you draw the line, and would I be able to, if I used it, how would it affect people in the township? Basically, the transportation would only work for people living in the township, correct? And, it'd be ineffective. It wouldn't be worked because I wouldn't be able to benefit from it. And what about accessibility? With TARPs right now, I get door-to-door service where they come to my door and let me know they're there. It would be the same thing. And, those are just my concerns there, and I really wanted to say that, and I really hope that if they do take a vote on it, I live in the city of Sylvania. Again, how can I vote on it if I don't live in the township? So I'm against it, and I really hope that you guys consider that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Well, late last week, I received an email from Mr. Zeitler, and I believe Mr. Burrell was on it, indicating or clarifying the law that was passed, which is going to allow us to put this in front of our residents for a vote. But if you guys wouldn't mind explaining what you found out and things.
Well, do you want me to give a brief? Because I've been through it all day today. That's my whole day was spent on this.
Well, I think
With
those
Mr.
two guys were there too.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, I would like to specifically state that the legislature made a big boo-boo when they passed this. It was effective date of July 1st. But according to Linda Crawford, who's a staff attorney for the House of Representatives, her effective date, because of the 90-day waiting period, is September 29th, 2011. I would like to see this go on the ballot this year. People who vote in the general election, people who would vote an absentee would be able to vote, and there would be a chance that we wouldn't have any problems. The problem came in when I called the Board of Elections today and found out that there is a 45-day period before the election where they send overseas ballots. That would be September 22nd before this, which could contest all those ballots, be a lot of problems like commissioner's race last year, and it would make this ballot probably be dead. So I'm going to recommend to this board, without having any discussion on it, any further discussion, that we do not move forward with this resolution and put it on the ballot for November, but move it to the primary of next year, because it's going to be in our best interest, and make sure that we don't have to vote on it twice. Because if it goes through and things get screwed up, and if things change, it's going to make us look bad. I don't want to have to go through it, and they say, why didn't they study it all? After all the studies, I mean, we don't need to, I mean, John can give us further comments, Burrell, but I mean, basically it boils down to, let's wait till the spring to make sure that we do it right during the primary. I don't know, you guys agree with that?
Well, John, do you guys have anything to add to that? I know you
I think Kevin started out by saying the legislature made a mistake, and John can clarify that. The memo you mentioned, we got just last Thursday. So It wasn't something we were aware of beforehand. We thought we were on pretty solid ground because the way the law was written, and then we get this memo, and John can address that a little bit more, just last Thursday, which really kind of said, whoops, it's not what the law says, because we have to follow, I guess, Constitution 90 days and that. And so this just hit us, just last Thursday. I sent it out on Friday, and so it's not something we were aware of even until just
I
this
mean, we'd
other
have a
day.
50-50 chance of it possibly being okay and a 50 chance of not. I don't want to waste voters' time. I don't want to waste our time and put something on the ballot that possibly could fail.
Yeah.
I'd rather just wait till the spring. Before I let John talk real quick, I'll say briefly that there's a lot of companies that have come forward that want to provide service for people like Cindy and everybody. You are technically in the township, even though you're in the city of Sylvania. You'll have TARDA service available to you. But as a township, if we do provide service, you would be eligible to be picked up to take to the St. James Club.
Mr. Burrell.
So go ahead.
I essentially agree with Mr. Haddad. We got a memo from the attorney for the Legislative Service Commission. That is the agency that basically writes the statutes and analyzes the statutes for the legislature, raising the issue of the effective date of the statute. Even though the statute says that it's effective July 1st, there is the constitutional provision which requires for most bills a 90-day waiting period. She did a very good analysis and basically reached a conclusion that in spite of what the statute says, the Constitution requires that it cannot go into effect until September 29. So anything done before that date, as Kevin said, is void. The prudent legal thing to do is to wait until after September 29, so you don't have to put this on the ballot twice. Because even if you put it on the ballot now and it passed, there's a very good chance that it'll all be void, and you have to do it all over again. And that just doesn't make something that makes no legal sense.
I don't want to make it, make us look bad for anything like that.
Well, I think this whole board is, and I don't want to speak for anybody, but I think we do want to put it in front of our residents
Definitely.
and give them the chance to voice their opinion on it. But I think the time between now and the primary election is going to allow us to answer a lot of the questions that Cindy has brought up, and just make sure that the residents are comfortable with the options that we would provide if TARDA was no longer providing a service, or maybe they were to provide it under a different guidelines that we established, not what they put forward to us. So I do think the time frame is going to give us ample time to get it right. And Kevin, again, thanks for all your issue. I know you were there this morning. Go ahead.
I want to also explain to everybody that this is a twofold process. Number one, we're going to have to put on the ballot. If it passes that the people want to opt out of TARDA, even by one vote, we're opt out of TARDA. If we decide to put an alternate service, then we have to put that on the ballot and let the residents vote on that also to see if they want to approve it. So, I mean, not that I guess I'll explain it properly. I feel bad if the residents vote no, we don't want to pay any more taxes and there's no service available.
Yep.
But I do believe it's a voter's choice to vote on this, whether you're for or against it, because this is the first time in history you'll be given this opportunity. It's like a bad marriage that you can't get out of, and you got one shot to get out of it. So, I mean, and I spoke to TARDA, I'm going there to the Thursday meeting at 8 o'clock to specifically state to them to get the ball rolling on the sales tax, and I told Jim Gee this morning, they can both testify, let's get this plan to the trustees. Don't come around every time you need more money. Come to us, sell us this plan so we can go to a sales tax and get it off the property tax, and it's a no-brainer, but get moving on it. Don't just sit back and wait till it's a little bit too late. And he said, okay, so I will go say this to their board meeting on Thursday for you guys, if you guys agree with that. Is that okay?
I think, TARDA has a lot of improvements, and, I know you were very critical of Mr. Gee and things in the past, and I agree with you there too, Kevin. I think you and I see eye to eye on this.
Yes.
I just want to make sure that our residents will know what to expect if this happens, if that happens, and so on down the line, because I think there are a lot of residents who depend on TARDA, and we don't want to leave them stranded.
60 we have that depend on it.
Well,
I got that.
And again, part of my complaint about TARDA is the poor data they provide us.
Correct.
So those are things that we can all work together on, including TARDA. So.
I think we have one person that wants to.
Yes, ma'am. Okay. All right, that is next, I believe. Hearing of the public on, so please.
Do you want me to go over
I should,
You can just state your name there.
I had 6 glasses of iced tea.
I'm sorry, laryngitis.
It's okay. Want the microphone?
My name is Shelley Peppenfuse. I live at 618 Winthrop.
Hang on 1 minute, we'll try to get a microphone for you. Maybe you can start over, because we're trying to pick you up on the mic.
Thanks. My name is Shelley Peppenfuse. I live at 618 Winthrop Street, Toledo, Ohio. And I'm really going to wear 2 hats to talk to you. First of all, I'm going to speak as a Toledo resident who works in Sylvania and who has worked in Sylvania since June of 1991, 20 years, at the Ability Center. And I shop twice a week and buy my groceries in Sylvania Township. I have since the Walmart was constructed on Holland Sylvania Road. And since its construction, I've probably spent over $30,000 in food and merchandise in your neighborhood rather than my neighborhood. The reason I do that is because it's easy for me to commute directly after work to go to Walmart on Central and then take the long truck home back to the Old West End, where I've also lived for 20 years. My question is, if you opt out, I would be forced to find another place to shop because there's not going to be that interconnectedness of public transportation. The second hat that I want to wear, because I will keep it 3 minutes. Last week, Councilman Haddad said that the Ability Center had all kinds of problems with TARTA and disliked TARTA. And I think he was speaking from issues that were occurring back in 2002, and that is on record. And there are articles in the Blade that talk about that. What the Ability Center did in 2002 is we went into legal mediation and dialogued with them and utilized the Federal Transit Authority to set up a group, a consumer group, that actually hammered out all of those issues. And what you see are the benefits of all the work that has occurred since then. This is an article, it's an editorial on TARTA that talks about all the improvements that were made for the users. Smart planning and smart utilization of their buses. So I would like you to look this over and know that officially the Ability Center does not have any complaints towards TARTA. And in fact, we've created a complete form that anybody who wants to use a complaint can fill out a form, and we help them look at whether or not our public transit service is out of compliance with the Federal Transit Administration. When you provide public transportation, there are federal guidelines that tell you how your service has to operate in terms of timeliness, window pickups, delivery, drop-off, pickup, drop-off times. Because we abide by federal guidelines. The group helped TARTA do this over the last 7 years. So officially, there really haven't been any complaints. The last complaint, and I looked it up, was June of this year, and it was a gentleman that missed his fixed line bus by 1 minute. And after we researched, we discovered that he got there a minute before the bus was scheduled to go by. So actually, it was a ridership training issue. If he really needed to be there 5 minutes before the bus would go by in order to catch it. So these are the types of examples of issues that other riders are experiencing in terms of complaints. Though it's really not a pattern in practice of what you may have heard 8 years ago. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And, you know, that's the type of information that we're trying to make sure that we have before we do make a decision. And again, what we want to do is make sure that our residents know what to expect if the residents chose to opt out of TARDA. And certainly, I don't think it's anyone on this board's preference to just drop public transportation at all. I think we have a problem with what I would consider our representation down at TARDA and them listening to us in terms of our needs and what we expect from them. So hopefully this will allow us to open up that dialogue and make sure that everyone is provided the service that we expect and we've come to depend on. So we are, you know, we're going to keep working with you and make sure that everything, you know, that you won't all of a sudden wake up and not know how you're going to get somewhere.
I can explain one thing real briefly. If we do put it on the spring, they still would collect the $2 million for next year from Sylvania Township. We would be able to get something in place if we put it on the spring ballot too, of a replacement levy and a service that would be available, because we would have it all set, and if that was approved, that would be in operation by the end of the year, because if this passed in May, it would be certified by June. We have 6 more months of service to December. Our new service would be in place January 1st. So there wouldn't be a lapse of service. It's just that saving my residents 2/3 of their money is a lot more important right now. And making sure you get around is a lot more important right now.
Do we have anyone else signed in? Okay.
Say a few words.
Yeah. Are you signed in, or you wouldn't mind signing in?
I haven't signed in.
Okay.
We need to get your name, sir, but maybe use the microphone up there.
I'm only going to say a few words.
Your name, sir?
My name is Lou Byersmith, and I moved here from Bryan, in '97. And when I first came here, I noticed the buses, the big buses, they were empty. So during this whole period of time, I tried to analyze how many buses I've seen. Most of them are, I'll say, are in Sylvania Township, because I live in Sylvania Township. And the most I can ever say that I've seen anybody, the amount of people on a bus, out of thousands of buses I've seen, mostly in Sylvania, as I say, in Sylvania Township, and clear down to the Franklin Park, and even as far as Maumee. But those are minor places. I would say thousands of buses. And I can honestly say, of those 1,000 buses, the big buses, the most I've ever seen on any one bus was 4 people. Once. I've never seen 3. Mostly there was 0 or 1, maybe 2. And I think we've got to do something. I think there's a certain amount of people that have to use buses. But we've got to provide a different type of transportation for these people. But under the present way it's going now, I think it's a crime that we have to pay TARDA the amount of money that we're doing for these empty buses. To me, it's a disgrace, the buses that I see on the street. They've been painted, it's supposed to have been art. To me, it's a trash. And I know some of you people, some of you councilmen, there's been a lot of pros and cons about it. But I've been actually counting them, and I've been saying this ever since I moved to Bryan, or to Sylvania. And I think it's a disgrace to our city of Sylvania, but especially to the township that I live in. That's about the limit I want to say. But I do think, I think these people that call, my hearing is very bad. I could not hear what they were saying. And so I don't know what they talked about, but I assume they're talking about the needs of it. And yes, I do say we have to have some kind of transportation for them, but under the present system, it's terrible. Thank you.
So I think, it's difficult to operate a trustee board, or township board, because there's only 3 of us, and we can't talk amongst ourselves in private to kind of see where we're at. And it's difficult to react on the fly up here. There isn't one of us, and again, I don't want to speak for anybody, but there isn't one of us who thinks TARDA's doing a good job right now. So we're all on board with you. We all see those empty buses like you do. I personally think they put up the art on those buses so you can't see how many people are riding them. But the only thing that I wanted to make sure is we did it right, and we provide the service that people need and expect, and the rest of it. I know for one, they've got 12 buses that go from Centennial Quarry to Franklin Park Mall a day. And again, they can't provide us with the numbers of ridership and things that we need, and that we're making difficult fiscal decisions because of budget cuts and things, and they just have no use for our input, and it is frustrating. I think this new law is going to change all that, and maybe we'll be able to work with TARDA in some other new agreement, but definitely we want to be more fiscally responsible to our residents in how we handle our public transportation.
Let me just say this. I talked to TARDA about 6 or 7 years ago, and they use the big buses. They say they're more economical. I don't know.
I personally think we've got buses doing what cars used to do. I mean, we've got buses hauling around this caller ride, and you've got a bus now hauling someone where a car used to do it for $1, for perfectly healthy citizens or teenagers even. And again, I don't think that's the type of service our residents want out here. We want a very, a cost-effective system. We're all making difficult cuts, and that's the only thing I've got to add.
Well, TARDA replaced the old community traction in '69, they got rid of it. '71, they came up with TARDA. And like I said, it's a marriage that you can't get out, and when you give somebody money, even the zoo, I hate to say anything bad about the zoo, but when you give them money, they take more and more and more and more, and we get nothing in return.
I think it's going to be, this will work out, I really do. I think TARDA's going to eventually figure out that they know the message from where we're coming from here, and I look forward to having them come back with their plans, so.
Sounds good.
Or at least listening to us, and if they don't respond, then we go elsewhere. I think, like Kevin said, there's probably companies chomping at the bit to get in here and provide a bid.
3 of them already called me so far.
So, is there anyone else that signed on the? Okay. Please.
Now remember, we're not voting on this tonight, so be brief. Well, it's almost 6
And my name is Jessica Weinberg. I am a Sylvania Township resident. Have an advanced degree, but don't drive. I think I might say I'm on the flip side of the other speakers' coins in that I live in Sylvania. They're from Toledo or Sylvania and want to come to Sylvania Township. I live in Sylvania Township, but I don't find it's possible to do everything that I need to do with leisure and employment within Sylvania Township. My workplace is right kind of on the fringe of where Sylvania Township becomes Toledo. The organization puts on a lot of events at the big venues around town, Erie Street Market, University of Toledo, the Pinnacle in Maumee. Some of the plans I've heard discussed for public transportation within Sylvania Township, all my doctors are in the city of Toledo. I go to the various branches of the library. It would be nice in a way if Sylvania Township could, you could find all those things within Sylvania Township, but that's not the reality. Everybody in the Toledo area likes to use the whole Toledo area. So I don't see how township-specific, I agree that there are holes in the TARDA system in the sense that there's a point A and a point B that you don't connect on TARDA, but it seems like we could be filling those, and it would have helped if all of the municipalities within TARDA had agreed on that sales tax. I think TARDA could do a lot more to fill those kind of gaps, and it seems like going to township-specific kind of transportation is a step back from that, because they're township specific. It seems like it's going to be more broken up. You're going
you'd have to do some kind of changing of vehicles, I don't know, go in the mall and then get on the charter bus. I don't know, haven't explained how that's going to work to connect with the rest of the area.
Well, we'll have discussions on that down the road, Jessica.
And
get into it, because right now, we're not going to do anything till next year, so.
And you are right, Tarta could do a lot more with
Yes.
twice the money, but the question is, what service are they providing to our residents? And again, to give somebody that's not passing the grade more money is foolish to me.
And of course, there's the question of how much the numbers that were quoted at the last meeting were how much it would cost the township. I would be afraid that would mean that the service or that transit company is going to make its money off of rider fares, which means that it might be much more expensive.
Well, we'd have to look into that. Like I said, that'll be all forthcoming, Jessica. We're not doing anything right now at all, because there's nothing we can do. The law's got us locked right now. But thank you. Any left?
I know, Penny, ma'am, you wanted to say something? Just
briefly.
My name is Deb Angel, and last week I came here and I used the #1 caller ride. That's the route number that Tarta uses to service people from Franklin Park Mall to anywhere in Sylvania and Sylvania Township. By the time I got on that bus, the driver told me that he already had 3 pages full of riders that he had just that day. Each page is for 20 people. So, okay, in a day he had at least 60 riders that was coming out here from the mall. Today I came out here and I used the 39M, which is a fixed route. It's not a caller ride. There was 8 people on board that bus. I don't know about this gentleman that said that he's only seen at the max 4, but I counted by the time I got off that bus today, and also when I got on the bus. There was 8 people when I got off the bus. There was 12 when I got on it. So, y'all are getting services. This was just one run. Okay, this is one bus. So y'all are getting the services. Now, I couldn't be here earlier today because I was making a movie for the Ability Center, but, it's like, how can I get to the Ability Center? How can I get out here to the Township Hall? I need access to public transportation. What I am provided in my check is not enough to responsibly drive a car. And by responsibly, I mean have one that's in good working order, have insurance on it. Even if I did not have any monthly payments on the car. Maintenance, gas, all that kind of stuff. I get less than $700 a month. And that's from Social Security and Supplemental Security income. I can't afford a car. That's my reality.
Well, one thing I can tell you, Deb, is that Sylvania City is not choosing to opt out. The Ability Center.
That's correct.
Anywhere, the hospital, any of these things that have Sylvania City on them, you'll get a ride there no matter what. And you'll come through the township and that won't be affected. The only thing I'm looking at...
But you cannot come through the township if you don't allow us to be here. That's the way it is in Oregon right now.
Yeah, but they will be able to go through that little space on Monroe Street to get to the township.
No.
Through the township.
No. I'm sorry, sir, but Tarta cannot cross the street into Oregon right now because Oregon does not want them in their district.
Correct, but you have to get to Sylvania City.
To get to Sylvania City, they'll have to find a way to get around Sylvania
They will come
Township.
straight through on Monroe Street and drop you off there. There's only 2 blocks that are township there. Yes.
You know, I think you bring up good points that we're going to be getting those answers to over the next couple months before we come back to our residents. And there are a lot of details to this, and, you know, the fact of cities, township, those sort of things. You can't get to the Sylvania City without going through the township, so, you know, that's something, unless you're in Michigan. So there's a lot of details that we need to work out, and we will make sure we get them right. Thank you. And is Penny back in the room yet, or?
No. She was here.
She was helping that young lady. Do you want me to ask her if she wants to
She's
speak?
Cindy in and out. I don't know where Cindy's at. Close the meeting then, I guess. There goes our going.
Penny Levine, 3753 Her Road. I know this topic has been discussed for quite some time, and I think today, as I'm sitting here patiently, pretty much knew what was going to transpire today with this discussion. But I sat here and I'm watching. We spent over $800,000 on Station 4 for an elevator, and to make sure that it was ADA and ADAG certified. Okay? We have no buttons, handicap, ADAG, ADA, on these doors here or on this fire exit. And as you've seen, the push, the shove, the holding, the trying to get the doors open and closed, there is no handicap accessible door once you get into this building for anyone, whether they have no sight or whether they are in an electronic chair. And I think that's something that this building should be addressing, okay? Also, too, I understand they have wheels, okay? But someone who is limited in sight, and I myself am sensitive to that because my father was blind. And I've known Cindy before she was born, okay? I understand the limit, and I'm talking about exhausting limit, of how you are paralyzed in that situation. And to limit someone to just exist in this township when, say, our neighbors to the north, okay, which is the city of Sylvania where Cindy lives and others like herself, are limited then to live, work, and play just in the township. So I think when this topic was discussed way back when to save everybody money, but like I said, we spent a ton of it on an elevator for a fire station that taxpayers paid for. I think we need to look at a better plan, which was promised, that if we were to opt out of TARDA, that we would help provide some kind of service to either be the same or better. I remember those discussions. Now that you're looking at a program that's 6 days a week, does that mean to say they're stuck at home, they can't travel on the 7th day? Go to church, the store, whatever? I know, I understand it. I'm just raising these issues so that all of you can look at these issues when you work on this prior to putting something into action. I'm sitting here and I'm looking at this and I've been thinking about this. And I think these are the things, yes, we all want to cut costs. I mean, I do too. I live here. And we work here. The thing of it is you can also shortcut yourself way too thin. And when you're providing services and you promise to provide those, then you need to provide an efficient and effective system that those that you claim you're trying to help and provide for reap the benefit of, along with saving money. But sometimes, you can save, penny wise, dime foolish. So I think we have to look at that. Thanks.
I think we're all more comfortable holding off to the primary so we can get those
Absolutely,
details
and I understand why.
and get a much better comfort level of the service we're providing. We don't want to shortchange anybody, and we want to get it right, as I've said all along. So I think this time period allows us to really, look at what we've got What kind of improvements do we suggest to them? And again, just getting into a dialogue with TARDA, I think, is going to be a huge improvement.
They just purchased, I'm sure you read the paper.
To us that we
Yeah.
didn't want, and we're not using, and it's frustrating to the residents to see those empty buses. But again, we know we've got people that utilize it, and by no means do we want to leave them.
And I agree with all of you completely, because I've seen them. I travel this area every day, probably 10 times a day, and I've seen those too, but also in the paper, it had said that they were purchasing smaller van-type buses, that kind of thing. So they have heard,
I'm not saying that.
and
but
those
I'm just
buses
saying
are
that
coming.
Sales tax then costing all of us different bases, different amounts of money.
A 1/4% sales tax, not a half.
Right.
Yeah, and you know what, exactly, but I think if they've heard you, I think it's time, as you said, to have them come back and really sit down and iron some of this stuff out.
I agree.
Okay?
Thanks,
All right,
Penny.
thanks, guys.
Okay. With that, I would, do we have anything else, Mr. Zeitler? No. Okay. I would like to offer a motion to close the meeting at 6:04.
Second.
Calling the roll, Mr. Mahoney.
Yes.
Mr. Haddad.
Yes.
Mr. Genowine.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.